This particular topic has been a big ask amongst our community for a very long time. For years, people have been asking me to teach about abundance, and for some measure, I've held off, or at least took my time in deciding when I wanted to do it. I always felt like everyone has their own personal experience around money and finances, and many people have their own unconscious biases, beliefs, or stigmas around money, or what abundance or wealth really means to them. And so when my team asked me to create a course on abundance, I thought, my goodness, it's like talking about politics or talking about religion. But then I remembered my mission, which you will learn a lot about in this course. My purpose really is to contribute to people's lives. And I thought if in some way I can help people to have a more abundant life, then it would be worth all the effort. So thank you so much for making the time to join me on your journey to abundance. It's my hope that by the end of this course, you'll have all the tools and the understanding on how to create a more abundant life, and it'll be worth your investment in time and energy and resources. And hopefully you come to the realization that the greatest investment you'll ever make is when you invest in yourself. And when you invest in yourself, you invest in your future. So for those of you who don't know my work, I teach the neuroscience and the biology of personal change and transformation. I'll be guiding you on your journey, and for those of you who are familiar with my work, you know how much information is important to me. There's a lot of content in this course, and it is given to you so that you can build the best model of the understanding around the concepts of what it takes to create more abundance in your life. I always say that when we learn new knowledge, it serves as a catalyst to create new and wonderful experiences. All of life uses information to organize itself into form. Without information, nothing new can be born. In other words, when you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, the how becomes easier. And we discovered in our research that when people understand sound scientific information, and science really is the contemporary language of mysticism, and we'll be combining quantum physics with neuroscience, with neuroendocrinology, with psychoneuroimmunology, the mind-body connection, epigenetics, electromagnetism. We're going to build models of understanding. And when nothing is left to conjecture or superstition or dogma, then you can understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. The how gets easier because you can assign meaning to the task. And when you assign meaning to any task, you switch on your prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex is the boss of the brain, and it wants an outcome. So if we give you that knowledge and information, and now you do something with what you've learned, if you do it properly, you should have some type of change and transformation. The concept is simple. Transform yourself, and the idea is to transform your life. So there will be lessons that I disseminate knowledge and information, and everything you learn will be used in some way for you to apply that knowledge in order for you to create a new experience. After you learn the information and it's wired in your brain, there'll be homework that is required for you to do to prepare for the meditations that we're going to use. And we use meditations as the tool to make measurable changes in your mind and in your body. That's the practice. So to prepare yourself for the meditation, I suggest that you pick a place where you're comfortable. It should be private. You should not be distracted. It's a place where you can sit and you can lay down, because it's important for us to lay down after we finish the meditation. If you're truly applying what you've learned and you lay down, the autonomic nervous system has to consolidate that information neurologically and chemically into your biology. So make sure that you have a pillow, a blanket, that you wear blindfolds, that you have everything you need for your meditation. Doing the homework is really essential. I'm going to ask you to study and to memorize certain things. The information, the knowledge that you get is the reason why you can become adept, you can become skilled, you can create a new habit, create a new experience, or change in some way. Think about it like this. How you think, how you act, and how you feel is your personality. And your personality creates your personal reality. So in order for you to create the personal reality of abundance, you're going to have to change your personality. So I'm going to hold you accountable that you do the homework, and I'm going to assume that you're going to prepare yourself in the right ways for the meditation. And if you actually take the time to complete the homework, I promise you, then when we get to the meditation, it'll be much more powerful for you. Now, if you've taken the time to really think it through, contemplate it, review it, study it, the how will get easier, as I said. And so I want to tell you before we start the course what this course is not. I'm not going to be giving you any financial advice during this course. I'm not going to be talking about smart investments. And I'm not going to advise you about diversifying your portfolio. And I'm certainly not going to be your business coach. The first module is dedicated to understanding how we create in three-dimensional reality. There are certain personality traits, certain characteristics of people who have become abundant or created abundance in their life that we have to study. In order for you to become abundant and change your personality, it's important for us to study the raw materials. I always say that three-dimensional reality is the plane of demonstration. It is the plane of doing. Now, what do I mean by that? In order for us to create any experience in three-dimensional reality, it requires that we do something. And when we do something to create an experience, it takes two things. It takes time, and it takes energy. So everything in three-dimensional reality that we create, matter to matter, takes time and energy because we have to do something in order to create a new experience. And since the brain is creative and we live in the realm of duality or polarity, we live in the realm of separation or lack, the way we get creative is we become conscious that we don't have something. Now, the moment you become aware that you don't have something, you become conscious all of a sudden that you want it. And the brain naturally begins to dream of having that particular experience. So think about this. You are conscious and you are aware. You're conscious that you're local in occupying space in time. You're conscious of everything around you. And you become aware that you don't have something that you want. The brain naturally begins to imagine, it dreams of having that future. And when we imagine having that future, we're creating another point of consciousness. So the separation between 2 points of consciousness is called time. Let me say it another way. The distance between the thought of what you want and the actual experience of having it takes time and energy in three-dimensional reality. And once we create the experience in three-dimensional reality, the payoff from the experience is called an emotion. And the emotion from the experience that's created takes away the lack or separation from not having it until we want something else. So in three-dimensional reality, we create based on lack and separation. Thus, in order for us to create anything we want, sometimes we have to work hard, we have to work extra, it takes a lot of time and we make a lot of sacrifices. We got to do a lot of things in order to create, and sometimes we do things that we don't want to do. But in time, you can become educated, you can get really skilled, you can develop good habits, you can learn from your mistakes, you can get the right counsel, you can make enough of the right choices in your life, and you can get really good at accumulating things. So for the most part, in three-dimensional reality, in order to create what we want, we have to get into the business of doing something. But what if we don't create what we want? We spend the majority of our life living in lack and living in separation. We're going to tease this whole thing out and give you the qualities and characteristics for you to set a vision of that future, get very clear on your purpose, set goals in alignment with that purpose, understand what excellence is, understand the highest form of motivation, how to combine a clear intention with an elevated emotion, generate the energy for you to do enough things to arrive at that vision, creating matter to matter. And there are qualities and characteristics that people have developed, and I want to study those, and I also want to expose you to the qualities and characteristics of a person who lives in lack or separation. Once we understand the two, as I said earlier, you'll have the raw materials for you to begin to create the life that you want. The second module is about creating from the field. We call that fifth dimensional creation. Now, what do I mean by the field? Quantum mechanics says that there is an invisible field of unifying energy, of information that exists beyond everything physical and material, beyond our senses, beyond this realm called space-time. And if we can get to that field and understand its principles, we can begin to create from the field instead of from matter. We can begin to shorten the distance between the thought of what we want and the experience of having it. And creating from the field then allows us to see those synchronicities. We start noticing a flow in our life. We're in the zone. The opportunities seem to be coming to us instead of us having to go and do anything to get them. We'll study what it means to have brain coherence, the seat of our consciousness, and heart coherence, the seat of our energy. When there's a vibrational match between some possibility in the quantum field and your energy, and you can synchronize your energy for synchronicities in your life, you can begin to draw experiences to you. We'll tease that out, we'll explain it thoroughly, and then there'll be a meditation that goes along with it. The third module is about putting it all together, combining 1 foot in the real world and 1 foot in the quantum world, and allowing us to create both in 3D and 5D, stepping towards your future, and at the same time, drawing those experiences to you for abundance in your life. Believing, behaving, becoming abundance. Learn the information. Make new connections in your brain. Review the information, repeat it. That's how you remember what you've learned. Learning is making new connections. Remembering is maintaining and sustaining those connections. Install the neurological hardware in your brain. When nothing's left to conjecture, superstition, or dogma, the next step is to apply it, to personalize it, to demonstrate it, to initiate that knowledge, that philosophy. Get your behaviors to match your intentions, your actions equal to your thoughts, your mind and body working together. Create a new experience. The new experience produces the emotion. You feel unlimited. You feel grateful. You feel abundant. Now you're teaching your body chemically to understand what your mind has intellectually understood. Knowledge being for the mind, experience for the body. Now you're embodying the truth of that philosophy. The information is no longer just in the brain. Now the information is in the body. Now you are chemically instructing your body to understand what your mind has intellectually understood. And your biology changes from the experience. If you've done it once, it means you should be able to do it again. Repeat the experience over and over again. You will neurochemically, neurologically and chemically, condition your mind and body begin to work as one. When you've done something so many times that your body now knows how to do it better than your conscious mind, now it's innate in you. It's automatic. It's easy. It's familiar. You've become that knowledge. You've mastered that philosophy. So our job then is to go from philosopher to initiate to master. From knowledge to experience to wisdom, from mind to body to soul, from thinking to doing to being, to learning it with your head, applying it with your hands, knowing it by heart, believing, behaving, and becoming. That's what this course is about. It's about your journey to abundance. It is your journey in becoming. You'll have to agree with me that if you're at a certain level of consciousness where you realize you don't have something and you want it, whether it's wealth or anything else, you're going to have to change. You cannot be the same person. This course is about change. This course is about your journey of change and transformation for you to begin to become abundant. Simply said, if you're not abundant and you want to become abundant, you're going to have to start thinking differently, making a lot of different choices. You're going to have to do a lot of different things. You're going to have to create a whole lot of new experiences, and you're going to have to change the way you feel. And by the same means, you're going to have to stop thinking certain ways. You're going to have to stop making the same choices. You're going to have to change some self-limiting habits and behaviors. You're going to have to stop creating the same experiences with the same people at the same places at the same times. And you're going to have to stop feeling one way and start feeling another way. Now, the first thing I want to tell you is that you already know how to do this. I believe that everyone at least once in their life has done something great. And how did we arrive at that final outcome? How did we arrive at our dream? We asked ourselves a question like, what would it be like? Could I be healthy? Could I be wealthy? Could I be abundant? Could I be in shape? Could I have a healthy relationship? We asked ourselves a frontal lobe question. Now, the frontal lobe is the creative center of the brain. And when we ask that frontal lobe question, because it has connections to all other parts of the brain, the frontal lobe begins to access the neurological networks in the brain that are associated with that question based on the things we've learned, the knowledge we've learned intellectually, and the experiences that we've had in our life. And as we call up these different associated neurological networks, the brain begins to fire in tandem. And once those networks synchronize and fire in tandem, we get a picture in our mind. And that's called intention. We are selecting a new possibility. For the passionate person who sees that vision becomes the experience in their mind, and they begin to feel the emotion of that future before it happens. And we could say that they're giving their body a taste of the future emotionally before it actually happens. And when that occurs, then, the stronger the emotion we feel, the more we remember that vision, and we begin to remember our future. We've all done that. And then we did something really important. We kept that vision alive in our mind. We wrote down the choices we were going to make, the to-dos, the lists that we had to create to get our behaviors to match our intentions. We wrote down our goals, those experiences that would keep us headed towards that vision. And we had to be inspired. We had to be elevated. We had to feel motivated. We had to be excited. That was the energy that we created to keep that vision alive. And I think we did something really great as well. We wrote down the choices we had to stop making. We started to examine the beliefs and the thoughts that would stand in the way of that vision. We stopped doing certain things. We wrote down the things we had to stop doing and the habits we had to break, the experiences that we wanted to stay away from, and the feelings that would keep us thinking and behaving as if we were in our past. And that is the process of change. We kept reminding ourselves of who we no longer wanted to be, and we kept reminding ourselves of who we wanted to become. And finally, then, to be able to change means then to be greater than your environment. What do I mean by that? To think, act, and feel differently in the same circumstances in your life. In other words, independent of the people or conditions in your life, you're changing your personality and being greater than your environment. To be greater than the habits that the body has been programmed into doing over and over again, and the emotional conditioning and addictions that keep us in the past, and to be able to sustain that for an extended period of time. Keep thinking differently, keep acting differently, keep feeling differently, change your personality. It begins to change your personal reality. There is a reality that already exists for you, where you are an abundant person. You just have to become it. Now, given everything you've learned in the introduction, here's your first assignment. I want you to think of a time in your life where you set your mind on something and accomplished it, whether it was a vision, a dream, or a goal. What did you think and believe? What did you do? And what emotion or feeling did you live with to accomplish that vision or dream or goal? By the same means, I want you to think of a time in your life where you set your mind on something and you didn't accomplish it. It's important for us to realize, what did you think or not think? What did you do or not do? Or what emotion or feeling did you live with on a regular basis? It's so important to understand the contrast between the two. In this situation where you didn't accomplish something, there's usually three things that stand in the way between us and arriving at our vision. Our environment, the conditions and circumstances in our outer world, our body, its habits, its emotions, and its drives, and the concept of never having enough time. So then your homework is to create a contrast between when you accomplished something, when you set your mind on it, how you thought, act, and felt, And when you didn't accomplish something, how you thought, how you acted, and how you felt.